review. Book one of it's all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a sales and marketing expert, and of course, a podcast host too, like me, no other than Miss Debra Bowers. Welcome to Book Welcome to Book 101, Miss Deborah. And can you
Thank you so much for
please
having me.
yes, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
I would love to. I am in Oklahoma. I grew up in a small town in the state of Oklahoma, and then I went to Oklahoma State University, graduated, started immediately in a sales and marketing career in climbing the corporate ladder. I spent a couple of decades doing that, running marketing and sales departments for big corporations. And then got married for the second time and had four kids under the age of 6. And so we had to take a long, hard look on what are we going to do? We can't both work 60-hour-a-week jobs and take care of four kids and then grow up to be good human beings, which is the goal, right? So
Yes.
I sacrificed a lot to raise kids. I ended up raising five. I became legal guardian for my nephew when he was 16 and raised him the rest of that way. And I kind of lost myself in that process. My true self. You're in kind of survival mode on what is the fastest way for us to solve this problem and take care of the family. And in 2020, my marriage fell apart, my marriage of 20 years, and all five of my kids had left the nest. And then in 2021, my mother passed away, and I took care of her through a cancer journey. And it truly was just devastating to lose my mom. She was, the one person who knows everything about you. And to not have them anymore in my life, and it was really, really difficult. So there I sat with my marriage gone, my husband no longer there for me to take care of or run his businesses, which I did for a long time. And my kids were out, and my mom was gone. The only person left to take care of was myself, and I had no idea how to do it. So I took some pretty serious steps and made some non negotiable boundaries with myself, and I changed my life. I changed my mindset and I changed my life. And today I can tell you that I sit here more in my own skin than I have been in a couple of decades. And I started my agency, Hexagon Media, in 2022. It's a boutique agency. We do full service marketing services. And then I started my podcast, Deals with Heels, in 2023, and then took over that podcast as solo host at the beginning of 2025. So life is good. I love working with small businesses and marketing and developing marketing and sales plans and doing sales coaching, and for not just small businesses, but I do them for corporate America as well, and really help build that sales mindset that is so important to have to be successful in sales. So now I've got two kids living at home, and those are my dogs, and I love them, and I really feel fantastic about where I am in my life. I'm 58 years old and started over in my 50s, and I will tell you that it's never too late to live happily ever after, as they say.
It's not too late, people. And Miss Deborah Bowers, we salute you for being you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So let's talk about sales psychology and buying personalities. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. I really got my first kind of taste in how all of that can work in 2000. I was working for a company, and it was sales. It was actually a yellow page company, and they were focused on, of course, selling, and they came in and had lots of different of the personality tests and different training people come in to train us all onto figuring out how how we can better interact with one another. And that was one of the first experiences I had with that kind of a thing that was actually applicable to use in real life. I've gone through tons and tons of them, and it's difficult unless somebody else has had it also for them to understand what you're talking about, because so many of those personality tests are complicated and they have so many different acronyms and there's 35 different versions of them. But the one that, right, the one that I was
Yes.
exposed to was very simple and it was easy to apply to regular life. And as I continued through my life and my different career plans and all of the things that happened to us, I developed my own way of modifying all of those different tests and personality assessments that we go through in corporate America. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've taken dozens of them and came up with my own version of it. And then it has also changed over time because so many things have changed. So what it is on a basic level is, how does this person that's in front of me like to communicate? What's their preferred method? How do they see the world? What is their personality like when they communicate and they absorb that information? How do they do it? How quickly do they do it? And then you can modify that into, how can I better sell to that person for them to understand my message? It's not about manipulation, although it certainly could be used for that. It's really about, if you believe in your product and your services, then how then you've drank the Kool-Aid and you know, right? I just have to communicate to them where they understand it and they'll see the benefits of it. If it's useful for them, then they'll buy. So how do I best communicate with this person in front of me and in a way that they understand, so that they will understand the sales message I'm providing in the product and services? And oftentimes we communicate with people the way we like to communicate, not the way they like to communicate. As an example, if you're sitting in front of somebody and their desk is neat as a pen, there's not an errant piece of paper, there's no dust, their stuff is all in place everywhere, then they have this very trustworthy, loyal buying personality that is no nonsense. They are bottom line. Uh, I reserved 20 minutes for you. You're 5 minutes late. You have 15 minutes left, right? That person
Yes.
that I've reserved this much time. If you can recognize in front of you that that is who it is, then you've got to communicate clearly and without frills, right? They want the bottom line. What is it that you're offering? How much does it cost? Why do I need it? Give it to me straight. And then they will make a decision based on that. If you want to chit chat and be friendly because you are a person that's on the more emotional side, then you're not going to mesh with them because they don't want to be that authentic with you. They want to be, here's the business, here's the information, let me make a decision quickly and give me the bottom line. I don't want any frills, I don't want any descriptions. So if I know that about them, then I'm not going to worry about getting chit chatty with them. I'm not going to worry about talking about my cute dogs and that they wouldn't go outside in the rain this morning. I'm going to get right to business, right to the point, and not waste that person's time. So, and that works in regular life as well. If I know that the person that's in front of me sees the world based on how it makes them feel and they see things emotionally, then I'm going to take extra care with their feelings and with what I say and with my words. And I'm going to acknowledge their emotional response to it. So the way I communicate with that person is going to be vastly different than the bottom line person, and the emotional person is going to likely make an emotional decision. And that's not a bad thing. That is how they operate. So you communicate the ways that your product and services will help them, how it will relieve stress for them, how it will benefit them, and how that affects them emotionally when it's in place. Now I can sell and close that person up. If the product and service is a good fit, then I can communicate that better to them and they will respond accordingly.
Indeed, direct to the point. Miss Deborah, what are some common psychological triggers that influence buying decisions?
The biggest one is price and perceived value. I think that here's the thing, no one wants to be talked into buying something. We're so resistant to being sold something, even though we get sold things every single day. We buy coffee, we buy fuel, we buy books, we buy all kinds of things every day. But when it comes down to having to talk to a person for longer than a couple of minutes to make that decision, we're so resistant. We don't want to be talked into something. So a lot of times people give a false objection, right? So they'll say, well, I don't have time, or I don't understand. I haven't had a chance to review the information. There's all of those things. And most of the time, it comes down to price and money. And we're so emotional about money, right? It hits us
Yes,
in a way that nothing else does. So it's, I like to try to remove that away and deal with everything else first. And then if I start feeling that you can tell when somebody's giving you an answer as to why they aren't interested, you can tell if it's not an authentic answer. You know when somebody, if you really are are in the conversation, you can tell when it doesn't come out authentic and they're just blowing you off, right? Just pushing you
yes,
away. A lot of times that is about price or about budget and they don't want to have that conversation. It's important to break through and have it because the differences, let's say somebody doesn't have something budgeted and it's going to be $1,000 a month. If I don't know that, then I can't help them find that money in their budget. So I have lots of contacts. I've got a credit card processing guy, I've got this maintenance guy, I've got all these different people. So if it comes right down to it, and I've identified that it's a price and value issue, then I am going to come in with where can we save you money so that you have budget available. So what if I can bring you in a different credit card processing person and they can save you enough money that you can spend it on promoting your business? So those are ways that you can use when you get that signal from somebody about their buying resistance, right? Their objection to why they don't want your product. Really getting down to find the real one is important. I was visiting with a client, and he was talking about they were looking at expanding into another market because they felt like they had saturated. That wasn't the word they used. They felt like they had run out of opportunity in the Oklahoma City market. And I said, wow, you guys must be doing really, really well if you've sold everyone that's here. And they're like, well, no, but everyone that's left is really difficult. Right. So you picked up the easy stuff, right? You picked up that easy stuff that's in there. So now you got to get into really why are they not responding? And his example to me was that this person, they're getting ready to go through a big expansion and they're doing these capital improvements and they don't have time to focus on it. And so my response was, boy, that's an easy objection to overcome. If that's the real objection, then that's really easy to overcome. It's likely a blow off objection, but if it's the real one, then your services save them time in the long run. And it doesn't take a lot of time to implement what you're doing, right? All it does is for them to agree and then you take over and process and it's through somebody they delegate it to. So if that's the real objection, that's easy to overcome. But likely it's not, but you can't give up on the conversation, I guess is my point. They were walking away because they couldn't close these deals and they were coming up with objections that they couldn't overcome. And the reason they couldn't overcome them is because they couldn't really dive deep and understand why that prospect was thinking the way he was thinking. And likely he is super busy. He does have a lot going on, but take the time to say, if you'll give me 15 minutes, I'll show you how I can alleviate pressure and time so that you can focus on those other things. But if you don't see that and you can't see that buyer's pain point, right? He's telling you his pain point. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, that's what he needs solved. So, how does your product or service help him? And what my client was selling definitely will save him time and headache, but he was so resistant and blocked he couldn't even listen to the message. So you got to be able to recognize those things in somebody that you're talking to and communicate based on their pain point. So his pain point was definitely, I'm busy, I don't have time to talk to you. And showing him the value of, just give me 15 minutes and I will show you how I can save you time so that you can focus and not stress about this whole aspect of your business that I can take off your hands, that management of it. So I find a lot of times people get stuck in, they accept the response that they're given, the objection they're given, simply because they don't want to be seen as someone trying to talk you into something, because no one likes that. So you have to be able to right. It's a mindset thing for the salesperson.
Yes.
It's a mindset thing. How can I stay in the conversation and not be pushy and not just be browbeating my points? Because that's not it. It's about connection. How I have to be able to relax enough to not have what they call commission breath. I need the sale. I've got to pay my rent kind of a thing. You have to let go of all of that and trust that what's meant for me is always meant for me. If it's this prospect, then that's fine. If it's not this prospect, then I'm going to ask them for a referral because there's a reason I'm sitting in front of this prospect. And, but if you're calm, if you can control that anxiousness and your own emotion, then you can see clearly what your prospect's pain point is. And then you can communicate with them based on their buying personality, which this guy's is definitely that hurried, competitive, give it to me fast. I'm going to make a quick decision. I mean, he's somebody that I definitely love to sell to because they don't want to mess around and talk about it forever. They want to, I got to make a decision quickly. I'm not going to let them make a decision without all the information, but I definitely want him to make it quickly once I give him everything and show him how I'm going to help him.
Miss Deborah, congratulations for being good in closing deals. As a podcast host and a sales and marketing expert, what will be your short term and long term goals?
I am in the process of recording and building it is a mindset training for sales platform. So it's sales coaching training, but it involves that mindset element. I'm an avid meditator. It was a really big part of changing my life, healing triggers and being upset about everything happening around us just really separates us from our own goals and our own mission. It changed my life. It affected how I market to people. It affects how I sell on a one-to-one basis. And so I'm taking all of that knowledge plus my own work in buying personalities and authenticity and combining that into one big sales training program that will launch towards the end of the year. I'm really excited about that. It's not just a game changer for salespeople, which is what it's geared towards, is the sales process, but really anyone out there that is focused on even selling themselves, but that mindset piece of being able to stand in your own power when there's chaos around you, when you're not seeing and getting the response that you want, being able to separate yourself from the emotion of it and not be triggered is the key to real success, and the key to having success without the stress and the hustle and the constant pressure. So, really, my goals for this year is to complete that process and incorporate that back into my business, and then really focus on it again in the messaging in my podcast. Mindset is everything. It is everything. And when I started my journey to change my life, because I was sitting in a ball of tears, unable to control my emotions. And I was triggered by everything that happened around me. This person said this person's mad, this person won't talk to me, this client, this, all of those things had me so wound up and balled up with my own emotions and my own thoughts that I just didn't want to feel that way anymore. And I worked through counseling and then on my own to heal those parts of me that were causing an emotional response, but that didn't have anything to do with the situation in front of me. It just was reminding my subconscious of a time in the past when that something similar upset me. So now something in my present is upsetting me subconsciously. I don't know why, but I'm just upset and triggered. So healing all of that was a big step for me in moving forward, not just with my life, but with my career, with my businesses, and with my podcast. It is a huge change to make in your life, and it is very liberating to let go of the things that cause us to have emotional turmoil in our life that don't have, I mean, it's not that things don't happen to us. My mother died, I had a ton of emotional turmoil. That's appropriate. What's not appropriate is having a bunch of stress and emotional turmoil because a client was upset at the way I said something, or what somebody else said, or this person said something, or something reminded me of a time when I got reprimanded when I was a child, even. All of that's not appropriate. And being able to separate that out of your life gives you so much freedom and makes you feel so comfortable in your own skin. Now I can really communicate my message without feeling self conscious, without wondering and worrying, oh, what's Danny going to think about that if I say that to him? Or the rumination that comes later. Why did I say that? I feel so dumb. Why did I say that? I spent a lot of time doing those things. And in sales, questioning all of that, it can make you not want to go prospect. It can make you not have discipline to get up in the morning. So it related very well to me. And I feel better today than I have felt in a long time, having healed. And I'm not perfect. I get it too. We all do have something that'll get us and set us off a little bit. But what I can do now that I couldn't do before is I can check myself and I can ask myself, okay, why are you really feeling this way? Do you really care what that person said? Is it really affecting your life? Or do you just have this emotion that came from nowhere and you don't know why? And really sorting that out and having those conversations with myself that honestly made me feel kind of crazy when I first started doing it, but now it comes so easily, and it's pretty rare because once you've healed it, it doesn't happen to you anymore. So it's an important journey that I'm passionate about. I'm kind of just at the beginning stages of sharing it with everyone, but I incorporate it in my coaching business and in my podcast every day.
Good luck to your goals, Miss
Mhm.
Deborah. And how do you maintain authenticity while using psychological strategies in sales?
Authenticity is important to those buying personalities. And what made me start thinking about it is I'm a very private person. I so my people that are at my core, right, that know me very well, there's a small group of them. And so I developed it's rings of authenticity. So your outer ring is your public authenticity. Just because I'm not sharing my deepest, darkest secrets publicly doesn't mean that what I am sharing publicly isn't authentic, right? That part of me is authentic. It's just you got to get further in to get to know the real me. Applying that to sales is how far into my rings of authenticity do I need to go to sell to this person in front of me? Are they someone that needs to feel a true connection to the salesperson? Or are they somebody that aren't interested in that connection at all? They just want it to be transactional. Knowing that is really important, partially because I'm not easily vulnerable with others. So if I'm talking to you and I'm going to sell you something and I can tell that I'm going to have to be really deep into that, that's going to take a while for me to get there. I'm not going to be able to close you today. Most likely, I'm not going to be able to have some immediate vulnerable conversation with you. If I can tell that I need to be that far in, then I know this is going to be a slower sale for me, for my personality. It might not be for somebody else's, but for me, maintaining authenticity, because remember, sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. If you are not truly enthusiastic about what you're doing, it comes off. People know you're being fake. They know. So, how far how far into my ring of authenticity, which is also vulnerability, how vulnerable do I need to get to be able to communicate effectively with this person? And am I willing to do it? Do I have the time to do it? Is it worth doing it? Those are the questions that come in when you look at authenticity and buying personalities, because they go hand in hand, right? So I may need to
Yes.
connect more to sell with somebody, and then this other person, they don't want to connect with me. The least amount of connection is better for them. And so identifying that makes you able to not just close that deal, but build the type of connection that's going to work for that person, and understand that, hey, that's the kind of person that I like to have a professional relationship with, because I don't like to give a lot of my own personal business out until I know somebody better.
Miss Deborah, to wrap up our discussion for today, what final piece of advice would you give to someone just starting to learn about sales psychology?
I think the first thing would be to listen with curiosity, especially in sales. We do this in life, but especially in sales, we listen to respond. Are they giving me a pricing objection? I know how to respond to that. Are they giving me this? I know how to respond to that. So we're looking for specific things so that we can respond and close the deal. Rather than do that, listen with curiosity, learn about that person, find out who they are, what makes them tick. What are their pain points? They're not going to just automatically hand it out that this drives me crazy. I can't stand that this is the way this works. Sometimes they will, but for the most part, you have to listen and be curious about it so that you hear it. Otherwise, you're just hearing the statement. You're not seeing the motives. You can't see and get the feeling from that person. So, listening with curiosity is really important to find out what that buying personality is. You can't make assumptions about it, because even the neat desk, that may be that person's personal assistant coming in there cleaning all of that up every day. Someone in the office has it, but listening with curiosity, I think, is the first step in starting that sales journey. If you want to know your prospect and their communication style, their buying personality, and how to best sell to them, listening, number one.
Listening, people, and thank you for your advice, Miss Deborah. And again, thank you so much for being you. Thank you for your podcast. Thank you for your business. And can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast as well as your business itself?
Absolutely. My podcast is available on all platforms, Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. You can also check out my business, hexagonmedia.net, where you can download a copy of my free ebook, 5 Steps to Having a Mindset for Success. And that are the exact steps that I took to change my life. I'm not a counselor or a psychologist. That's what I did, and it worked very well for me. So I share all of that in the free ebook, and it gives you kind of an idea of how I like to operate when it comes to coaching as well. So check all of that out. Dealswithheels.com links to all platforms where you can hear my podcast.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Debra Bowers because if you support her, more and more empowering episodes to come, more and more and more empowering business to come. So, Miss Debra, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
More to come, people. See you soon.